Project Playtime could come back, but for one reason or another I'm just not as hopeful that it will as I would have been a few years ago. For context, look, I love Project Playtime and I have played it to absolute death, but the truth is right there in front of us. If you go to Steam right now, you'll see that the last update to the game is in October 2023. That's 2.5 years ago. This game bridged the gap between Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 and 3, and yet well before the marketing for Chapter 3 had fully begun, Project Playtime was left in the dust. For some reason, the mentality at Mob Entertainment just seems to have changed. I don't understand it. What makes me happy though is that Project Playtime has survived where some multiplayer online games have failed. The game survived Cuffbust and Highguard and so on. As Chapter 5 launched, I saw the player numbers for Project Playtime soar above 1,000 again. In this video, I want to explore some of the missed opportunities that Project Playtime had and some of the scrapped plans for the games, so let's take a look. Before we begin, I'm Kirbysterplays. Please feel free to subscribe, I would absolutely love that. Mob Entertainment said in June 2023 that they were prototyping PJ Pug-A-Pillar to be the next monster in Project Playtime. I do believe you'll see PJ as a playable monster in the foreseeable future, but we have to make sure it works correctly and we are working on it currently. They also confirmed the hide and seek game mode will be part of the base game and that 2 new maps are already in development. Now, we did get new maps. That number of 3 maps by default I think went up to 5 as the end result. But we got no hide and seek mode and obviously we didn't get PJ Pug-A-Pillar. And I don't know why. Now, when it comes to the logistics of implementing PJ Pug-A-Pillar into Project Playtime, there are some difficulties, but if they were considering it, and if they were prototyping it at this late stage as we now know in the game's life cycle, I see no reason why PJ Pug-A-Pillar couldn't have been added. And a hide and seek mode, that sounds like so much fun. I would have loved to be a beta tester on that mode. I would have absolutely loved it. You know, a hide and seek game mode sounds so exciting, and as part of the base game, god, it would have added so much life to the game, and I can't believe we didn't end up getting it. Also, it's really weird, kind of, that they went to PJ Pug-A-Pillar as the next monster for this game. You know, we surpassed, I guess at the time, you have to remember, Chapter 3 wasn't even out yet. So we had Bunzo Bunny, and I guess that was kind of it. So, you know, in that regard, PJ Pug-A-Pillar makes sense, but they're so different in stature and in status for the franchise compared to Huggy and Mummy Longlegs, etc. So in terms of powers and abilities and things like that, I can't imagine what PJ Pug-A-Pillar would have brought to the table, but they were prototyping it. It's literally been almost 2 years now, and Mob Entertainment has remained tight-lipped on anything relating to PJ Pug-A-Pillar and Project Playtime, so I'm calling out Mob Entertainment. Please, post an update. Let us know behind the scenes what was going on with this thing, because I want to know what you had in mind for PJ Pug-A-Pillar. And I want to know eventually, in the end, why they weren't added to the game. Because behind the scenes you could tell that there was a push to get Chapter 3 out of the door. The gap between Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 in the Poppy Playtime franchise is the biggest of any 2 games. People's expectations for Chapter 3 were astronomically high. And if you see how Chapter 3 stacks up against the others, it is graphically superior, especially compared to the first 2. Like, I'm not a big fan of Chapter 3 myself, but compared to the first 2 it looks great. And the story, narratively, it adds quite a bit. It introduces all of these massive sweeping landscapes and characters, so Chapter 3 must have been obviously a massive undertaking at Mob Entertainment. And at some point in late 2023, like, the focus shifted, and literally almost everyone must have left Project Playtime so that the focus could be squarely placed on Chapter 3, because things like adding PJ Pug-A-Pillar were just swept under the rug, and they were swept under there so quickly that everyone just forgot about them. When was the last time you looked at the official Project Playtime Twitter page, X page, formerly Twitter page, for Project Playtime? Like, I follow this page obviously, but it's dormant, and I can't believe it. This game, it had one hotfix in late 2023 and nothing since then. I remember when people were posting concepts to Reddit and so on, all kinds of sites, all kinds of forums, saying, okay, when Chapter 3 comes out, they're going to add Catnap as a monster to Project Playtime. They're going to add the smiling critters as little, maybe like drones you can leave and things like that. And they'll add other characters from Chapter 3. And then when Chapter 4 comes out, there'll be Project Playtime version 4, or I guess version 5 at that point. And because they had Project Playtime Incineration and everything that came with it. So they'd be like, Project Playtime Chapter 4 update, and they'd have Yarnaby as a villain, or the Doctor as a villain, or some kind of assist that you can have in the background. Oh god, Yarnaby would have been such a good fit for this game, I swear to god. And they could add new maps and new locations from the different games. And then in Chapter 5, when they had Project Playtime version 6, they could have had the Prototype as a villain in Project Playtime, going round, swiping, killing others as this massive hulking villain, being able to run from the Prototype from a first-person perspective or a third-person perspective. I think that would have been fantastic. Giving the players of Project Playtime access to the full scope of the Prototype's abilities would have been astronomical, literally game-changing. And I cannot believe that that opportunity has been squandered and by all counts missed. You know, I fully expected when Chapter 3 came out that they would update Project Playtime. Early to mid 2024, they would say, okay, we're adding Catnap, we're adding Monster Catnap, we're adding the smiling critters, they leave them instead of the little Huggy drones that Huggy can leave in Project Playtime, and it's going to be great. I fully expected a Chapter 3 update. We didn't get that, nothing happened. Chapter 4 came out. By the time Chapter 4 came out, it had been literally a full year since we had any news on Project Playtime. I was playing it for fun, out of the goodness of my heart. There was no incentive to. They hadn't been updated for ages. There was a hotfix in October 2023, and that was it. You know, we got Chapter 4 in 2025, and there was nothing. Now, credit to Mob Entertainment. They kind of let us know when their focus was shifting from Project Playtime, because they made a massive scope of items available at the shop. Not all of them though, which was quite odd. Say for example you wanted to get the lunchboxy skin, the hamburger boxy skin. You couldn't do that, because that was in the battle pass for the very first update of Project Playtime. I missed that, and many people I know missed that at first, and there was no way to buy it after the fact. And any new player is going to be locked out of the skins that were available only in the Project Playtime Battle Pass. And I don't know why. I don't know why they did that. There are so many missed opportunities. Like, one of the other main things that I saw was something that the official Project Playtime X Twitter, formerly Twitter account, posted in April 2023. New experimental game mode tag. Let us know what you think. I did. I commented and said I loved it. You can fly with your grab pack, you can tap other players, you can hide in these massive locations, avoid being hit. Oh, it would have been like laser tag. Oh, it would have been great, and you could use your grab pack to go up the walls and everything. There were trick shots. Why did they not do this? In case you've been living under a rock, or perhaps more commonly, you just haven't played Project Playtime in the last 2 years, they never added this. They never added game mode tag. The goal was just to tag other people on the other team, right? This is such a fantastic idea for Project Playtime. It would have breathed new life unto this game, and they just decided to steer completely clear of it. I don't understand it. This is a perfect game mode. Someone thought of it. Someone built basic maps. We didn't want too much. This would have been great. Throw a couple of the monsters in there, maybe, as like the obstacles or hazards on the stages, if that, at a maximum. And you have a fantastic, brand new game mode for Project Playtime. And for some reason they just didn't. Again, April 2023. 2023 was the death of this game, and also the first full year that it was out. I don't know, this game, it was actively updated and had new features integrated into it for a couple of months, realistically, and that was it. And it's such a shame. I remember when Phase 3 of Project Playtime came out and they just reused the Battle Pass, and then they let you win play coins and different items just by playing matches instead of spending money. And they reused a lot of the features from the second Battle Pass, and it was kind of like, okay, I don't know how far into the future we're going with this. When Mob Entertainment jumped ship from Project Playtime, I was kind of prepared for them to do that, but I miss it, man. And I think that in terms of the longevity of the game, and in terms of, in Mob Entertainment's place, pure finance, I think so many poor decisions have been made. I think they should have updated Project Playtime when Chapter 3 came out. I think not doing that is an absolutely massive mistake. I think they should have updated it when Chapter 4 came out. I think they should have added PJ Pug-A-Pillar. I think they should have kept the official X, formerly Twitter page, updated. I think they should have added game mode tag. I think they should have updated it when Chapter 5 came out. I think they should have added the prototype. I think they should have added Lily Love Braids. There is such a massive cast of characters in this entire franchise. And quite honestly, it is the massive missed opportunity, bar none, that this game was not updated after the end of 2023. People talk about usually Chapter 4 of the game franchise as a whole when it comes to missed opportunities, because they think, oh, the Doctor Boss fight was a bit too easy, that should have been better. And yet, we're all, as a Poppy Playtime community, we are all sleeping on the biggest missed opportunity of all, and that is bringing new players into Project Playtime. Because you would be forgiven, anyone watching this would be forgiven for not playing this game for the last 2 years. Because Project Playtime has been absolutely dormant. And it hurts me to say that, because at one point I was 1 in 27 million people on Earth playing this game. Because so few people are actively playing it consistently anymore. And it hurts to say that, sincerely, because I love Project Playtime. You know, we can theorize, we can think about how amazing it would be to have all of these new game modes and all of these new updates, but they haven't added them. The last official word from the Project Playtime X, formerly Twitter page, was October 2023, when they added the Forsaken update and all of these epic new skins. When it comes to what they did with Project Playtime, physically, they did everything right. I think adding new items, updating the store, adding the reject toy bundle pack and everything like that, great idea. I love packs, and I've spent way more money on Project Playtime than I'm willing to admit right now. But not updating it after that. When you knew you had Chapter 3 on the way, when Chapter 4 was planned, when all of those structural and staff changes at Mob Entertainment happened, and they pushed forward with Chapter 4, 5, and anything that we see in the future, not updating Project Playtime is an absolutely massive mistake. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm Kobe2Plays. It was great to talk at you again. Please subscribe if you would like. And play Project Playtime. It's official and it's wonderful.